Hello and welcome. What is virtualization software? Virtualization software is installed on a computer already running Windows, Linux, or Mac to allow that single computer to create and run virtual installations of other guest operating systems. These guest operating systems can be Windows XP, Vista, 7, 8, Linux, Mac, Solaris, OpenSolaris, and OpenBSD. This is used in data centers to allow them to optimize server space and hardware usage. Virtualization software is great for testing out other operating systems and software. Many times there is older software that for whatever reason you still have to use. Virtualization software is great to install Windows XP to run older apps. What is VirtualBox? VirtualBox is a virtualization software package owned by Oracle. VirtualBox is extremely feature-rich with high performance. VirtualBox is freely available as open-source software. This means you can download and use this product as long as you like for free. Let's download and install VirtualBox. Open a web browser like Internet Explorer, or Firefox or Chrome if you prefer. In the address bar, enter www.virtualbox.org. On the VirtualBox homepage, click the Downloads link. Click on the link to select the operating system you are using. In my case, I am using Windows 7, so I will select the version for Windows. Click the x86/AMD64 link. On the Download Information bar, you can save the file to your computer if you like, or just click the Run button as I prefer to do. This means it will download the file and then automatically begin the installer. The download is about 90 megabytes. Once complete, the Welcome to Oracle VM VirtualBox Setup Wizard screen will open. Click the Next button. On the Custom Setup screen, click the Next button. Deselect Create a Shortcut in the Quick Launch bar, and click the Next button. On the Warning Network Interfaces screen, ensure that nothing will be affected by resetting the network interfaces, and then click the Yes button. On the Ready to Install screen, click the Install button. Several Windows security screens will open, requesting to install device software. Click the Install button on all of them. On the Oracle VM VirtualBox Installation is Complete screen, deselect Start Oracle VM VirtualBox after installation, and click the Finish button. You can start VirtualBox in one of two ways. Option 1. Double-click on the Oracle VM VirtualBox icon on the desktop. Option number 2. Click on the Windows Start button, All Programs, Oracle VM VirtualBox, and then Oracle VM VirtualBox. The Oracle VM VirtualBox Manager window will open. Let's create a Windows XP virtual machine. Click on the New button. The Create New Virtual Machine window will open. On the Welcome to the New Virtual Machine Wizard screen, click the Next button. On the VM Name and OS Type screen, let's name our Windows XP virtual machine Windows XP. Under the OS type, make sure that Microsoft Windows is selected for the operating system, and Windows XP is selected for the version. Click the Next button. You will now see the memory screen. It will show you a slider bar that represents the total amount of memory in the system. In this case, the computer has 4096 megabytes, or 4 gigabytes of RAM. When the virtual machine boots, it will reserve the amount of memory you select here. If you select 512 megabytes of RAM, then this new virtual machine would have access to its own 512 megabytes of RAM. This would then result in your host computer having 512 megabytes less RAM to access. Let's set it to 512 and click the Next button. On the virtual hard disk screen, ensure that Startup Disk is checked and Create New Hard Drive is selected. Then click the Next button. The Welcome to the Virtual Disk Creation Wizard screen will open. This is where we need to select the type of file the virtual disk will be saved as. The default type is VDI, or VirtualBox Disk Image. I like to change this to VMDK, or Virtual Machine Disk. VMDK is a disk image format developed by VMware. Changing this to VMDK allows it to be easily transferred to a computer running VMware. Click to select the radio button next to VMDK, a Virtual Machine Disk, and click the Next button. The Virtual Disk Storage Details screen will open. A dynamically allocated disk is nice in some respects, because it will only use up as much disk space on your host computer as the guest operating system requires. It will grow as it needs more space on the virtual disk up to the maximum size you select. The fixed size disk is preferred because, with the file being fully allocated in one file, it runs noticeably faster and is located in one portion of the disk. If you have the space to spare, click the radio button to select Fixed Size, and click the Next button. The Virtual Disk File Location Size screen will open. By default, it creates the virtual machine in the root of the logged in user's home folder, with the same name as your virtual machine. If you want to change this to another driver folder, do that now. Select the amount of space you want for the virtual machine. If you aren't sure, 10 gigabytes is usually fine for basic usage. After making your selection, click the Next button. You will now see the summary screen, with a list of the options selected for the virtual machine storage device. Review the information and click the Create button. Depending on the size of the disk, it should take less than 5 minutes. You will now see the summary screen, with a list of the options selected for the virtual machine's operating system. Review the information and click the Create button. Once the setup is complete, it will bring you back to the Oracle VM VirtualBox Manager window. We have now set up the virtual disk and told VirtualBox what guest operating system we plan on installing on this virtual machine. The virtual machine is listed on the left side of the window, and the information and virtual hardware are listed on the right. We now need to install Windows XP. You can install Windows XP with either the installation CD or with a disk image, such as an ISO image. Click on the storage link. The Windows XP settings window will open. Under the IDE controller, it lists the Windows XP.vmdk file we created earlier, as well as a CD-DVD drive showing empty. Click to select the CD-DVD drive. If you have a physical copy of Windows XP, place it in your disk drive. Click the button to the right of the CD-DVD drive. And then select the drive with Windows XP in it. I have 2 disk drives, which is why 2 are listed. It now shows Host Drive G. If you have a disk image of Windows XP, make note of where it is saved. Click the button to the right of the CD/DVD drive. Select Choose a Virtual CD/DVD disk file. In the Choose a Virtual CD/DVD disk file window that opens, navigate to the location of your image file. Select it, and click the Open button. It will now show the name of the image file listed next to the virtual CD/DVD drive. Back on the Windows XP settings window, click the OK button. Looking under Storage, we now see the disk image listed next to the CD/DVD drive. Let's start the virtual machine and install Windows. Click the Start button. On the Windows XP Professional Setup screen, it shows the unpartitioned space we created during the disk setup. We need to create a partition on it before we can continue the install. Press the C key on your keyboard to create a partition. It will now be highlighted where you can select how large the partition should be. We want it to be the entire disk we set up earlier, so let's leave the default of 10,229 megabytes and press Enter. We now see the newly created partition, along with 8 megabytes of unpartitioned space. This is left here for use by Windows in case you convert the disk from a basic disk to a dynamic disk. Press Enter to install Windows on the newly created partition. We now need to format the partition. Unless you plan on installing Linux or something else requiring a fat partition, I recommend always selecting NTFS. With this being a virtual machine, we don't need to perform a full format. Let's select Format the partition using NTFS file system, Quick, and press Enter. Setup will copy files to the new partition and begin the installation. On the Personalize Your Software screen, enter your name, and click the Next button. On the Computer Name and Administrator Password screen, enter a name for your computer, and click the Next button, unless you want your virtual machine to have a password. But if you're password protecting your host computer, you probably don't need a password here. And click the Next button. On the Date and Time settings screen, enter the appropriate time information, and click the Next button. The installation will continue. You will get a display settings window wanting to automatically adjust the display resolution. Click the OK button. On the monitor settings window, click the OK button. On the Welcome to Microsoft Windows screen, click the Next button. On the Help Protect My PC screen, click to select Help Protect My PC by turning on Automatic Updates Now, and click the Next button. On the Will this computer connect to the internet directly or through a network screen, leave Yes, this computer will connect through a local area network or home network selected, and click the Next button. On the Ready to Register with Microsoft screen, select No, not at this time, and click the Next button. On the Who will use this computer screen, enter your name, and click the Next button. On the Thank You screen, click the Finish button. It will now log you into Windows as the user you just created. Now for additional setup steps. To improve performance, we need to install the Guest Edition software. The Guest Editions consist of device drivers and system applications that provide a more seamless experience. On the Virtual Machine window, click the Devices menu and select Install Guest Editions. The Oracle VM VirtualBox Guest Edition setup window will open. Click the Next button. On the Choose Install Location screen, click the Next button. On the Choose Components screen, click the Install button. Once this setup completes, click Finish to let it reboot. Now that the Guest Editions are installed and the system is rebooted, it will probably be the lowest resolution of 640 by 480. Let's change this to something more appropriate. The resolution you choose will vary depending on the resolution you have set on your host computer. You probably want the Guest OS window to be as large as possible, while being completely visible, and not blocked by the taskbar, or cut off by the top or the bottom of the screen. Right-click on the desktop, and select Properties. The Display Properties window will open. Click the Settings tab. We may need to try a few resolutions to find the right one. My monitor is set at 1920 by 1080. We'll drag the slider under Screen Resolution all the way to the right, and click the Apply button. On the Monitor Settings window, click Yes. When you find the correct resolution, click the OK button. We now need to use Windows Update to install all the latest security updates. Click on the Windows Start button, All Programs, and then Windows Update. It will open Internet Explorer on the Windows Update page. Click the Express button. You'll get a pop-up message that basically tells you the internet is dangerous. Click the Yes button. Click the Download and Install Now button. It will now download and install a Windows validation tool. On the Installation Complete window, click Close. Back on the Review Your Installation Results screen, click the Continue button. On the Review and Install Update screen, click the Install Updates button. On the Read These License Terms screen, review the license agreement and click the I Accept button. On the Install Windows Internet Explorer 8 window, click to select I want to help improve Internet Explorer and click the Install button. On the Please Read the License Terms window, click the I Accept button. On the Get the Latest Update screen, leave Install Updates checked and click the Next button. On the Installation Complete window, click the Restart Now button. On the Windows Genuine Advantage Notifications window, click the Next button. On the License Agreement screen, click the Radio button to select I agree, and click the Next button. On the Validation Results screen, deselect the option to show me some of the many benefits of using genuine software when I click Finish, and click the Finish button. After finished with this tutorial, you'll probably want to run Windows Update several more times to complete all of the available updates. To shut down the virtual machine, you can click the Windows Start button, and then turn off Computer as you normally would to shut down the virtual machine and close its window. You can also click the X at the top right of the virtual machine's window. You then get three options. Send the shutdown signal is the same as shutting down the computer through the Start menu. Power off the machine is like you are unplugging the computer from the electrical socket. It does not perform a proper shutdown like the last option. Save the machine state is like when your computer hibernates. It saves the virtual machine exactly as it is when you click this button, and then restores exactly to this point when you turn it back on. If you had different programs open, they would all be back in the same spot when restarted with this option. To test this, we'll open an Internet Explorer window. Now click the X to close the guest OS. Select Save the Machine State, and click the OK button. It will save the state of the VM and can then close down to the Virtual Manager window. Press the Start button to start the virtual machine. Notice that it powers back on, and we're at the same spot as we were before we saved the state. You should now install an antivirus program on your computer before you do anything else, especially use the internet. I'll have a link on the screen linking to another one of my video tutorials on how to install and use Microsoft Security Essentials. It is free and made by Microsoft. We now have a working Windows XP guest running as our first virtual machine in VirtualBox. The installation of other operating systems is done in much the same way. You can run as many virtual machines as your system resources allow. Make sure you leave plenty of RAM for your host computer and don't assign it all to your guest OSs.